Hey everyone, here's an update from Riot. On Thursday, October 5th, a player from VCT Game Changers 3, Team Newt was identified by Riot Anti-Cheat as having compromised the competitive integrity of the tournament. This information was verified during Newt's match against Complexity, and Newt was immediately issued a forfeit. This result brought into question the validity of Newt's earlier matches, including their victory against DSG, and if the bracket results should be adjusted. After evaluating multiple options, including replaying parts of the bracket or reinstating DSG in place of Newt, neither solution felt appropriate as it would require us to invalidate valid victories and or create additional unfair knock-on effects to multiple teams. Riot Games takes allegations seriously and will be pursuing the exploration of serious measures against parties that knowingly seek to undermine the competitive integrity of our tournament endgame. So thank you everyone for your patience and understanding, and we'll see you after this break for the opening of the show.
Like a blue out! 4 kills! Fleckless is going to the main event!
When I come through, I'm the only one that I'll talk to. Gonna heat it up, I'm looking through.
And Flowerful is insane!
Right through the baby door! Get one, 2 kills, 1 in play coming across!
That's too damn bad. Does that make you mad?
30 seconds left. 1 enemy remaining.
I'm the star of this show, now you know. They all watch when I walk past.
So aware.
That's too damn bad.
Saunders ain't having it.
He's having it.
Get used to it, I'm too damn bad. Does that make you mad?
We are down to our final 4 teams, and only 2 of them can represent North America at the Game Changers World Championship. Hi again, everyone. I'm your host, Lemmy Kiwi. I'm looking forward to spending the day with my best pals. I got Sapphire. I got Bach. Ooh, animations. Heather, it's coming down to the wire. I'm so nervous.
Yeah, it's exciting. This is one of the closest game changers we've ever had. Who knows who's going to make it? Obviously, we know teams like Version 1's looking good. They've already locked it in. Shopify's always in the running for it. But there's some really interesting teams that are still fighting for that final chance at the Global Championship.
Yeah, it's really a coin toss right now on that final spot. Who's going to get that number 2 position, and how? Are they going to qualify through points, or are they going to win this event and actually take the spot automatically?
I was just about to say, like, you're our Valorant 8-ball. Like, I kind of want to shake you up and ask you a question. Like, are we going to have a good day? Are we going to have some good matches, Bach?
I think ultimately these games should be maybe a little bit better than some of the games you'll see in the quarterfinals rounds when teams maybe get a little bit mismatched, the lower seeds versus the higher seeds, like a team like V1 who typically stomps through those games. This is where you expect to see a little bit more force applied against a team like V1. But we haven't really
look at the
seen
bracket
that yet,
too.
So.
Yeah, some visual aid to what everybody's been saying. Look at all those 2-0s by V1. They're sitting pretty in the upper final, going up against Shopify Rebellion. That's our first match of today. They had a bit of a back and forth fight, but they're still here, and that's what matters. And then Complexity and EG as our second match of the day. Heather, is this kind of what you expected? These are the strongest top 4 we have.
I think so. I think coming into it, this is probably the teams that people would have said, you know, you've obviously got Disguise that fought very well in the last series, but these teams consistently perform very strong, and who knows? I have no idea who's gonna take it, that second spot.
Well, I know we're going to have some bangers because we're going to begin with the upper final between Version 1 and Shopify Rebellion. Heather, Version 1 are an unstoppable, untouchable force in Game Changers.
Yeah, untouchable is right. I believe it's been 185 days since they dropped a match in Game Changers. That's insane. That streak is wild. So, I mean, this team is clear-cut, the absolute favorite. All around, every single one of their players is capable of heroic moments. Obviously, for Fluorescent taking a lot of those heroic, but every single player has their star-studded moments on this team.
There really doesn't feel like there's a weak spot for this team. We interviewed Thea yesterday at the end of the show talking about EG and the way they played. It was just good, clean Valorant. Everyone facilitated their role exactly as expected. It was basically a textbook way to play the game. And that is what V1 does every single time. This team just plays the game the way it's designed to be played. Everyone does their role well, and you can see why it works. Their average score per map right now against opponents across 40 maps of play in Game Changers, teams are averaging under 5 rounds per map. That is insane. I can't think of many teams that would be able to facilitate a stat like that.
Yeah, to girl math, what Bach just said, no one's really coming close to beating them. It's crazy. And fun story, I forgot to mention in the green room, I actually met Fluorescent this past weekend in Toronto, and I fangirled like crazy because I heard so much about her, and I told her, I was like, man, everyone says how hard you work. She's like, really? And then her friend is like, yeah, you play 60 hours a day, and it shows. I mean, we had to just pick someone else to highlight for today. Heather, as much as we want to highlight the big fraggers on the teams, as we usually do, it's the silent heroes behind them that also deserve a spotlight.
Yeah, and you know, it's a player, and I think we say this every time we mention her name, Alexis, like, doesn't even get enough credit, even though, like, we always talk about Alexis, but still, she deserves more because she is the one setting up Fluorescent for those moments. The amount of assists she has is just like skyrocketed above any other player, and that's both like damage assists and non-damage assists. Like, her flashes are insane. This player lives and breathes thinking about how she can set up her star players.
You know, one of the things about Alexis's stats that's interesting, the ADR stat, which is kind of what you alluded to, is not high. It's not like insane. It's not bad. It's just that's not the way that Alexis really plays. It's self-sacrificing to set up a teammate like Floor. If you look, it's like 28th in the players currently competing in bracket play right now when it look at the ADR. But when you look at the APR, it's so much higher than everyone else that exists in that section of the bracket. It's all about utility. It's great utility use, coming in as the Sky, setting up Floor, and it's one of the reasons why Floor has been one of the best players that plays in Game Changers globally.
It's about how she enables her team for success. There's so many heroes on that Version 1 squad, but going up against them, another Titan in North America. Shopify Rebellion are looking to be the first team to dethrone Version 1 in ages. And Bach, maybe the odds are stacked against them in this match, but they have a chance to return to that World Championship.
Everyone said the same thing when this team went to World Championships last year. Everyone was like, and Shopify Rebellion is there also. No one really looked at this team as a legitimate threat. It was always about the other team. It was about Cloud9, and now it's about Version 1. It's always about that other team. So Shopify Rebellion largely kind of slid under the radar last year. I think this year, not so much. Expectations should be set a little bit higher for this team, and so far I do feel like they've struggled to find the same form we saw from them in Berlin last year.
Yeah, it's been maybe not as necessarily dominant, but they've made some changes. Some could say some tough changes. Obviously, replacing Benita, replacing Lori is a very difficult thing to do. But they've brought in some younger talent. Actually, they've returned a player that they used to have in the original roster, and they're really trying to figure out what is that final piece that is going to take them over the edge. They actually didn't face against Version 1 in Game Changers 2, which is very rare to say that KP, Flower, for Sonder are not facing up against them. So this is the first rematch in a while, and with this newly rebuilt roster.
And Bach, do you think there's a lot of pressure on players like Sabui and like Panini that are filling those enormous shoes, hoping to perform? Because we looked at the stats from their previous teams, and they're incredibly consistent from GC to GC.
If you were to ask them, they'd probably say no. One of the things I've learned when you ask a player how they feel going into a match, everyone feels like they're going to win, and that's the exact attitude and mentality you have to have. But in those small moments, like 1v2s, the clutch scenarios, that's when the pressure hits you, because you think, this team plays so carefully, speaking of V1, that those scenarios are exceptionally difficult to win. They are very well drilled, coordinated, they communicate well. You have to be precise. And that's when you start to see some of those cracks form. I don't know if they're going to necessarily be the players in those situations, but that's when the pressure hits. I think normal play, I don't think they're feeling the pressure at all. I think it's another day for them. It's just another match, another opponent, and potentially a win here could set them up for success and a trip to the championships again.
Going up against Version1, a team that hasn't been beaten so long, Heather, that is a lot to put on new players like Sabui and Panini, who, let's focus in on Panini in particular, who was on phase in GC1, GC2, first GC3 now with the squad. How is she going to stack up against Mel?
Yeah, this is an interesting matchup. Obviously, Panini was on this team when it first formed, went away to phase for a while, and they said, listen, maybe this is one of the players that made us the dominant player that we are, or team that we are, and brought Panini back to the roster. Obviously, facing off against a controller on the other side in Mel. Obviously, probably the most recognizable name in all of Game Changers, you could argue, who has been continuing to improve event after event. A lot of times, like we said, like kind of the fluorescence of the world take a lot of those frags, but Mel, again, just such a consistent, and it's not just her stats that show, but it's her leadership of that team. It's never being satisfied, always pushing the team for more. Even when the team loses 8 rounds, Mel goes on social and says, that was a disappointment. We need to do better. So the bar is very high for this team.
Wasn't there a video of Mel, like something about leash and trying to control her team too? Like she's
five
funny.
players on a leash, I think. Yeah.
She's so funny. And Bach, I mean, Panini stats-wise is able to keep up with just a juggernaut of a player on the other side too.
The question is whether or not when they match together, if that will continue. Heather mentioned it. Mel is just such a smart player. It's not just what she does with her mechanics, it's what she does with her brain as far as leadership and then just individual play, positioning, awareness. You don't always have to take an aim fight and win it. Sometimes you can win a round by not fighting, and that's something that Mel brings to the table.
Yeah, love, not war. What Bach said. Just don't die. Another great Valorant tip. But
hey, I do it all the time because I'm terrible and old.
That is only half true. You're only old. But it's okay. We're going to find out where we're going to play Valorant today. Let's go to our map selection to see where our teams are going to be facing off. The picks, the bans, and look at that. Shopify Rebellion pick Split. Version1 pick Haven, and Bind is our decider. Heather, I feel like we don't get to see Split pick that often.
No, we don't. It's actually not a map that either team plays too often. I think they've rarely touched it in this current Game Changers. I think they've had a few wins against some of the more tier 2, tier 3 teams. So it's one where we might see some new things here. But then as we move over to Haven, obviously Version1 and Haven just go hand in hand. We know how much they love that map.
When you look at these two teams, it doesn't really feel like either of them wants to play Lotus or Sunset this Game Changers event, so those maps are going to be banned out pretty quickly. And then Breeze is kind of a weird map for I think a lot of teams. They're still like on the fence figuring out how to play the map in the current rendition of it. A lot of teams opting to try to exploit some rotates using Yoru. We're seeing that pretty successfully from some. But as a result, it often finds its way sort of escaping the pool, and that's what leaves Split in a position where it's a pick map. Even though we haven't seen high volume from either team, we've seen it played twice by Shopify Rebellion. We've seen it played once by V1. Obviously, in the case of V1, it's a win because they haven't lost a map since the start of the year, but the sample size is certainly small. I am definitely interested to see how these teams will stack up on a map like Split, because we know how V1 can steamroll and pick up rounds, and that's a brutal map to start on if that's what ends up happening.
And even on Haven, I mean, we kind of talked about this yesterday, Bach, of just the differences in duelist choices and even controller choices, where someone like Shopify likes their Raze for Sonder or may prefer an Omen for Sabui, but on Version1's side, they may opt for a Harbor on Haven for Mel or a Jet for Fluorescent. How do you think that's going to impact the map?
I mean, there is certainly something to be said about the way that V1 sometimes approaches. I don't think that their comps are like, whoa, what is this? It's more like they just tweak a minor piece and it changes the dynamic of the way they approach a game. As an example, Split is a great option. They play double duelists, at least from what we saw during the qualifier. Now, that could have been a little bit of troll as early rounds in the opening qualifier, but They didn't play a Sentinel on Split, which is a map that is typically anchored by a Sentinel. We'll see them play double controller, double duelist looks, double initiator, double duelist looks. They definitely like to tweak just like one piece to try to make it unique and work for themselves. And obviously, that has paid off in dividends for them as they've managed to find that missing piece on almost every map they bring into the fold. So regardless of how you look at this map selection, it will always tilt towards V1, simply because of the fact that V1 has won every map that they've played this year, even the ones they're not that good on.
Yeah, Heather, I mean, it's Shopify that chose Split. It's Shopify that played Split in the qualifier against, I don't even know how to say that emoji team name, but either
Meow.
way.
We just call him Meow.
Meow.
Yeah.
Meow. Okay. Did not want to try Meow up broadcast, but here we are. So up next is Barky. But Shopify, do you think just kind of having that surprising map pick as a way that you can maybe catch Version 1 off guard or to surprise them? Because Version 1 haven't dropped a game at all.
Yeah, I think so. Obviously, you know, KP obviously being their leader, like KP has gone head to head against this team, against Mel as the other leader on the other side, so many times that you're just saying, okay, what else? What else is in our arsenal that we can pull out? And you know, Split's one where you look at, and yeah, Version 1 hasn't played a ton, so let's give this one a go. You know, we've been trying things for a couple of years now. Let's see how this goes.
Going to be a lot of weight on those duelists to make entries in those sites that could be quite compact. Love to show you guys the standings, by the way, because we've teased how there's 4 teams, there's 2 spots, and the 2 ways that you can qualify is, of course, winning Series 3, that's what you're watching right now, and also through circuit points accumulated through GC1, GC2, and GC3. Version 1 are just ahead of the pack by a lot, so they're guaranteed to get a spot no matter what. But Bach, it's a tight race for the top 4 where teams, you know, almost have to win because they're so far away in points.
Coming into the day yesterday, there was so many teams that could still find their way into this championship event in Sao Paulo. As we obviously see it whittled down further and further, the opportunities start to diminish and shrink. It does largely feel like it's a battle between Complexity and Shopify Rebellion simply by looking at the circuit points. But you have to remember, even if EG is behind by a good margin, if they win this event, they're in. The points don't matter anymore because V1 is technically the team that qualifies through points. If V1 wins, then it opens the door to all of these worlds of possibility where Shopify Rebellion, Complexity, and EG are literally just trying to one-up each other. Their goal is to beat each other, even if they lose to V1.
Yeah, you know, I don't know if Version 1, kind of the mindset have changed over the years. I don't know if they'll admit it, but like they want to continue this win streak in North America. So they've already got their trip to the World Championship booked, but you know, they're not going to let anyone get that extra spot easily. They certainly want to gatekeep.
Oh, I know Version 1's going to be loud and proud if they can go flawless all the way like they've done before. Our agent select is ready for our first map of Split. Bach, is anything immediately standing out to you?
No, not at all. We do see the double duelist composition from V1. It is a bit of an interesting setup. Not that many teams are looking at Jet on this map historically. It is a raised playground. But I think when you have a player like Floor who can come in and kind of electrify, that's huge. The other big piece of this is that V1 does not play a Sentinel on this map. They put a lot of pressure on Noya to be their site anchor as a Viper, which is always tricky. And I think that is maybe a way you could try to exploit. But if V1 is as good as they have been, they're not going to allow you to pull them out of position that easily. So it's certainly a tall task for Shopify Rebellion to try to get past this. They run the same comps on both sides that we've seen them run during the qualifiers at previous events as well.
And Heather, I mean, Version 1 have now, because they're running the 2 duelists, they have those options of entry, but then Shopify opt for a Sentinel instead. Is that going to help them try to defend these to defend these sites when it is so difficult to do so on Split?
Yeah, you know, obviously there's going to be a lot of pressure on Flowerful here as that lone Sentinel, and you're going to have those 2 duelists punching in your face. So it is a lot of pressure, but we've seen Flowerful. We even saw her in the World Championship against the likes of Mel and Alexis hold her own and had some incredible moments.
It's incredible moments for an incredible match. Our game is ready. Best of 3, upper final, version 1. Lossless on a streak. Will it be Shopify Rebellion that dethrone them? I can't think of two better casters to bring us through game 1 than Doug and Bala.
Thank you so much. Yeah, Ball, there's a lot of history between these two teams, but I will say this. I feel like we've seen these two teams match up in these winners bracket finals more times than I could possibly count.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, you always say death taxes in V1, or, you know, it used to be Cloud9 White versus Shopify. Now it's V1 versus Shopify. But surprisingly, yeah, the Des was just talking about how Shopify has been a second Titan in the North American scene. But last GC in Series 2, they struggled a little bit to get to this spot. Instead, V1 was playing DSG here. So it felt familiar, and now we're back at it. These two teams, such a rivalry for so long. The cores of each team have faced each other 13 times, Doug. So, like, you're right. This is familiar. And V1 still putting the gas on the pedal because undefeated. I'm wondering if there's ever going to be a game changes where they're not on top at the end of it.
We'll see if that's the case here. Version 1 starting on the attacking side against Shopify, and it seems like they want to go slow here at the beginning. That early flash going to confirm some presence. How do Shopify respond?
It's interesting, too, not dueling super hard for the middle here on this pistol round, which is somewhere that V1 is going to be aggressively working at. And I think spotting that immediately, not seeing an orb, not seeing anything, a flash in middle right now, indicates to them, okay, hey, they're not taking the info. We're not going to use this space. We're going to think that we can go somewhere else and brute force their way on the map. Shopify just went for a re-clear in B main, and the information that's coming out right now, this noise, this dog is calling a full rotate over as the execute comes in.
Floor is already dashed forward onto the site. You see that double duelist pronged approach, and Sonder takes care of both of them. Yeah, with a little help from her friends, but the damage has been dealt. And this is going to force V1 to reset. Or just continue to fight and take down Sonder.
Yeah, Mel coming through mid as well. She was ultimately going to be the lurk after the execute succeeded, but instead has to regroup. And they're giving up heaven right now, which is a lot of room for V1 to work with. You've already seen one kill come through
30 seconds left.
in a 3v5. Shopify is trying to play as passive as possible to allow the kills to come to them, but 25 seconds.
No more Viper.
Crispy shot out from KP. 3v5 has turned into a 2v4. Still an advantage in favor of Shopify, and a pretty considerable one at that.
One enemy remaining.
So the clock continues to expire.
down A.
Alexis falls. Mel's left alone with the spike while out of reach. And that's a pistol in favor of Shopify.
That's a very weird round.
Yes, it was.
V1 right there. I mean, I think not seeing anything in mid and putting the uncertainty to Shopify about that middle is nice. I mean, back over towards A too, and the execute. It just got split up so easily in floor with the jet nerfs. You can see she's not able to sit in the smoke as long as possible anymore. It was only a quick second before that flash comes through and gets her, and she's dead on site. So, bit of a mistake, and after that, they're just trying to work the map, which they're good at, but not quite good enough as Shopify just retreats and plays passive.
Yeah, 3v5 on a pistol when you're trying to work the map, that's difficult. Shopify with the advantage. You see it as far as weaponry. Panini with the rifle. That's another kill. Sarah falls again. We haven't finds any room here across mid. Panini was there waiting for it. We just mentioned that rifle in her hands. Finding some value early on. Just one sheriff in the hands of Floor, so see if they can convert anything with it. With the judge on the other side too, man, that's tough.
Hey, this on eco.
Yeah.
It's too easy. Especially if you keep that going to the bonus too. That just creates another threat. V1 now down on the pistol too. I think the biggest thing that people are talking about a weakness for V1 in this Game Changer Series 3 has been their ecos. Or getting ecoed in the sense of, those slightly more gimmicky rounds against them. And I think thinking back to the pistol, it's that sort of same thing. If one thing goes wrong, then see how they can adapt. They use the clock very well on their gun rounds. Here's one coming up. See how they deal with the judge from Sonder. That one's very important. Look at the double stars in mid to try to pressure a little bit with Sarah coming through there, but nobody actually challenging. And now there is an orb here from Shopify.
No presence found. It seems like version 1 are more intent on controlling the extremities, trying to insert floor into more of an aggressive position towards A.
I'd be scared if I'm a Shopify fan because I'm looking to see those two players in middle right now. It looks like they might want to set up a pinch with floor coming through ropes. There's an alarm bot. There is a wall to deter that.
And a KP on the other side, too. First molly popped.
It's a good thing KP was near to defend, but also backed off part of that pinch. Here comes the mid pressure, and that's nearly killed. Sonder close as well with the judge.
Oh, there it is. And Sonder gets 2. That second one seemed like it was so far away. Nonetheless, the value's found. Flowerful fulfilling some of the pressure, but KP is here. The help has arrived. Flowerful getting another with the turret, leaving Alexis in a 1v3. Version 1 seem a little off right now.
Shut down completely.
30
I love that
seconds
smoke from Shopify, too. Allows KP to just get right back in and help with the fight against Floor. And now coming through onto the site there. Alexis, there's no real quarter here to find in heaven. There's a flank coming in as well. She has no clue where the 3 players are. Has to be one on
10
site, but
seconds
with 10
left.
seconds, got to clear them both.
That's the first. 5 seconds now.
So good from KP. Just walking around.
Yeah.
Playing the life. That's so beautiful. And a bonus converted right there. Where they actually lost the first pick in mid there.
Sonder has had an excellent start to the game. Already has an ult on mine. This is what we're in round 4 now. Remember the ult changes. That's, I mean, maybe a little bit more commonplace in the past, but really highlighting how well she's played so far.
Absolutely. I think the big reason for one of Shopify's resurgence here in Series 3 has been Sonder stepping way up. She's up there with the likes of Mel, the likes of Alexis in terms of stats so far in Series 3. Around the Sheriff, see if she can find the picks. They're going to double dash into the smoke together. Sarah's deep.
That was the only gun they had other than the pistol. It was a stinger in the hands of Sarah. And yeah, Flora was able to punch back and get one with the Sheriff, but that falls too.
One enemy remaining.
One thing you're noticing here is it's always the duelists out, and Shopify is doing such a great job segmenting this team up. Mel, Alexis, Noya in some cases are always so far behind the 2 duelists.
Yeah.
And again, I have to bring back, when you're thinking about this comp, which was the iconic comp on Split for all of 2023, this double duelist Sky and the double controller as well. It relied so much on Jet to create some space for you.
Right.
And then on defense as well to be moving around with an op as well. But when you're playing against the double controller as well with a Sentinel too, it's easy to chop it up. With Raze as well, Sonder's been doing a great job with her nade. Solution's got to be found, and I think it has to come with V1 pressuring enough to bait out some of that util first before these executes come through.
Wonder here, it's been a early but rough start for V1. You wonder if Effie's is gonna perhaps try to throw the brakes on this thing, call a timeout, and give the team a chance to kind of reset a little bit. Because again, you take a look at the situation for Shopify, it looks real good. They've got a ton of money. Sonder still has a ult. Wasn't invested in the previous round because there was no real need to.
Yep.
And you've got a position where Shopify could put up another couple of rounds very easily.
And doesn't look like there's going to be a timeout. Shopify, I mean, Bach mentioned a stat about V1 versus the field early on, how the field average is only 5 rounds against them. Shopify closely approaching that. And for Shopify, too, this year against V1, it's only been 6 rounds on average. So this is a fantastic start for them on this defense.
Could not have asked for much more. If they can continue to balloon this and continue to snowball, it's only going to get worse. Version 1 this time choosing to apply pressure across the middle of the map a bit more than they have in the past.
Again, stuff like that right there. That boombot's supposed to allow them to scale. But because Panina's just sitting there ready with the molly, nobody's going through it. And V1 is not scaling with those boombots. So that's a molly out, but Also, no information gain, no space gain, so they're going to rely again on this B hit. And look how Panini is cheating towards this side of the map with so many mollies.
I mean, you had 2 extra stars on each side. KJ utility all over the place. They're trying to push right into the teeth of the defense of Shopify. And well, they've just cracked the mouth open. Floor with 2. Alexis gets 1 as well. Saunders left alone in a 1v4. Finally, V1 showing signs of life.
Yeah. Executes brilliant there, and I think maybe come back to floor there too, having the 2 smokes, having some money in this one. Giving her a little bit more time to stay alive, but also just bursting through the mollies in that case. Again, credit to Shopify for cheating over towards that B site to get both the KJ and the Viper in position to stop that hit, but then V1 as well, playing so well with the flank. I was wondering what that boombot was for, and it's to set up Noya to stay in that space that they're holding, to go for the final flank there. So V1 definitely understands their concepts of map control here, clearly. Maybe that's why Effie's not calling a timeout, because he's actually liking what he's seeing, especially in terms of mid control.
Yeah, very well could be the case. Flash out from KP just towards A main, confirming presence of some. Panini is there. I guess off of that flash, they want to head back that way. Once again, they're going to have to deal with some of the Killjoy utility. This time from Flowerful, you've got the turret that's going to be watching main. The rest of it's going to be up in heaven, though.
It's about the same time over and over that they're rotating over towards the site, but this time Alexis dogging mid by herself. But somehow, some way, Shopify's still making the right reads. KP is definitely on one today in terms of fighting against Mel, the IGL on the other side.
Alexis just ulted 2 for mid. I wonder, it does seem like they want to commit. You've already got the dash, you've got the double satchel backside towards pillar. Sarah falls, but Floor is able to counter punch back. They still haven't cleared backside though. Alexis is going to be on the late flank, but is it going to be enough, or are they going to flip the map? It seems like it's going to be an audible call.
Yeah, they have to, and I think both Alexis and Mel probably surprised at how much was over on that A site.
Yeah.
Alexis looking for the flank, instead finds some space for Mel to come back in and finds the kill too. 17 seconds, very doable here.
2v4 is going to be difficult. Not a ton of utility here. Alexis with a flash. Spike
KP
planted, and she's gone aggressive. I mean, do you expect someone here in this angle? 2 are going to be facing her. Might line up. The first one falls. The second shortly thereafter. 3 for Alexis on the round. KP left alone. A 1v2. And things have gone awfully sideways. Can KP bring it back? A 1v1 now. Alexis still healthy. Not a lick of damage taken. KP half. Pulls off. No sound made. Now the confirmation that just have to swing out. The shot from KP is clean. What a save!
That is disgusting from KP. Go for the retap, and Alexis is ready for that second tap. Really double peeks into it. I was ready to praise Alexis and Mel, but KP, multiple instances there where they're coming up huge. I mean, the stack over towards that A site to shut down Floor, Sarah, everybody trying to push in that site, forcing Mel and Alexis in a tough position. But then, as well, the dagger for them in that round to flank all the way from mid into B main. Mel was completely unaware. Definitely feels like she's getting outcalled here so far in this first half.
Yeah, certainly a little bit. Finally, a timeout coming through for Effies. As V1, I mean, they lost control at the beginning of the round, then somehow reestablished it, found themselves in a 2v1 after being in a 2v4, thanks to heroics from Alexis. And then it just slipped right out of their hands.
Yep.
Meanwhile, on the side of Shopify, you're right. I think they have a really good read on the map, a really good read on what Version1 are trying to do. I believe you said it was in this previous round. Somehow, Shopify keep getting the right call. They keep getting the right read.
Yeah, and you pointed out Alexis going for a hard mid feint, right? She used her Seekers in mid, right? That's something that they haven't done so far. In fact, I was thinking that all the reads that Shopify was making was because of where Alexis was positioning her Trailblazer, where she was positioning her flashes in the mid round. I think the adjustment here that I'd be making if I was Effies, I want to see them pushed up into mid more. The signal that you got early on in this game from Shopify is to set up and actually back off of mid. Here comes Floor 2 right on cue.
I mean, literally right where you said you wanted some more pressure. What can they do with this, though? Flash to clear some more space. Seemed like it was dodged by KP. Blades out from floor. They take some of the space mid. They apply a lot of pressure into B heaven, and then they freeze and they cut noise again.
Yeah, and a note there too. Noya mollying close to that wall. That's to break the alarm bot without really putting herself at risk.
Scout destroyed.
So definitely a lot more mid presence from V1 after the timeout. They just double cleared into ropes as well. Floor just holding on to Mel. 50 seconds. This is normally when they're pivoting. Normally when they're actually getting close to an execute. The stars indicate they want to go A, but the spike indicating it's a fake. But they're still not truly biting. Look at KP with the secrets and spawn. It's perfect.
Oh, that's going to cause so many problems, but can they get ahead of it? The Cosmic Divide is going to clear things out for just a bit. Now KP arriving, but they've gotten some control of the site. Actually, Sabui's here. Still not cleared. Tucked in the smoke. Finding cover, but Mel ultimately drops her. You've got a really nice position out of Noya there. That's going to cut off the flanks. That's going to cut off the rotates, and that's going to leave Panini on an island. A 1v3 with the spike planted, just a molly, and a high-low to deal with. Not to mention zero knowledge of what's happening on the last player. That's another round for V1.
Yeah, right out the timeout too. Huge kill from Floor onto Sonder, who satcheled herself up top as well. Right here. I was going to mention as well, KP shutting down Floor, allowing Sabui to work around that pillar. Almost netted themselves another round. Still, the read, really nice from KP again. Popping the Seekers to confirm exactly whether or not that A hit was a fake. But every time there's a fade, I feel like Noya is sneaking herself into such a great position. But look at this, 5 players now towards A, holding for a push.
Not seen. Yeah.
It's always been a 1-3-1 default. But at the same time, Shopify going for an interesting push, as they're down to pistols, by the way. Just one Vandal on Panini's hands.
What's interesting here, too, is, okay, so they've cleared up B. I mean, that's kind of confirmed things. Double satchel, you see the ult, everything cleared out. Sarah taking a little bit of the damage, but dealing with KP in the process. Floor on the swing back pillar, that's going to clear that out. The site in favor of V1, full control there. Now they're going to have to deal with this 3-player flank, and it seems like it's going to be handled just fine.
Oh, yeah, definitely heard them, too, right at the end there. But she can expect 2. Does it really matter? It's just a classic. Yes, it does. It does.
Okay, we've upgraded to a Sheriff. That rifle should be recoverable.
Yeah.
It's going to be a 3v2 with rifles in everyone's hands.
Problem here is that it's planted for heaven. And if you're Shopify, once you see that, your alarm bells are going off.
Right. Flash in the face, a swing out from Mel. That's Panini now. 1v2. Dropped. Mel with the clean shots to get version 1 another round.
On their way back here. And every time, I mean, you remember how close some of those rounds were early when Shopify was building their lead. It really comes down to it, because forcing the pistols right after basically 1 round win is critical. Right for V1. At least the damage they were doing, solid enough. And look, yeah, the money for Shopify still scraps. Bunch of ults still. Curious how they use the Viper's Pit. Curious if V1 has anything to really counter it. That pit in mid. You could imagine Floor going on a chase down mid like she did before, but instead, they're really relying on these pushes right off rip.
There's that double pop. Floor's already back sight. Sarah follows too, and ultimately does not survive. You've got Floor, who's been inserted deep into A, or B, excuse me. Finding some value. Sabui there on the trade, though, and they're going to flip the map. Noya has a lot of mid control. They've gotten the lockdown out. They can go A.
Yeah, and remember that pit. Panini just walks her way through while, Noya walks her way through while she gets away.
Yeah.
Very interesting Cosmic Divide. I think that's a great idea, but Sabui's ahead of it, so she knows this is all a fake. You're faking the idea that you're going to come back after the lockdown falls, but Mel's ahead of everything, man.
Yeah, Sabui's making just a lot of noise there on the rotate. Mel knew exactly where she was. So they got out the lockdown. They got out in really another round. And yeah, it took some investment. They had to drop their pit. They dropped their Cosmic Divide too. But version 1, barring a miracle out from Flowerful. And we're 1 step closer to that, by the way, as the pit goes down. Healthy here. Time still in abundance. Not a factor yet. Cautious clear from Flowerful has gotten into a 1v1! What?
Don't interrupt.
That was filth! That was a 1v3!
That is disgusting.
There's no way!
When everything is failing on the opposite sides of the map. That is crazy from Flowerful. Unbelievable. Bit of a misplay, though, from the V1 players. Not catching the backside. Noya alone in the pit. Alexis isolated, hoping that util from Mel was going to come in a second sooner. And Mel as well. There's a grab on the spike, and she's trying to walk out. It's not planted for her, so she needs to make that space. But yeah, that makes Shopify up to 6 at least.
Holy
V1 at
heroics,
bay in this first one. Yeah, this is crazy. Attack side up here. Floor can definitely hit any of these jump peaks that comes out from Sabui. I wonder if she saw him on the radar right there.
We often talk about how mechanically gifted Floor is. So many massive highlight plays, but at this time it's Panini and really the rest of Shopify that seem to be wanting to put a stamp on the situation. You think about that Flowerful 1v3, you think about how this round is gone. Remember, this was not pistols for V1. A 2v4 now. Floor still with the op. The spike out of reach.
Kind of confused as to what V1 is going for there. Floor definitely looking to work her magic on the other side of the map, but while that's going on, they force their way through mid, which normally they need Floor to do. Normally Floor is the tip of the spear inside mid. And they just walk through a molly. I think they definitely have gotten a directive to be a little bit more aggressive, as you've seen in the last couple of rounds, deathballing into sites early on without, with foregoing this mid control.
Which makes sense. I mean, given the comp that they're running, yeah.
But not quite sure as
30
to
seconds
why
left.
here in this instance, without Floor, with the attack side up, they're going for it. They're going to recover the spike. This is 20 seconds. Panini's alone right now.
You got to be careful here, man. The money's not great for V1. With 13 seconds left, do you make a play to save the op?
They're going for it.
10 seconds
Noya's going to
left.
have to deliver. Oh, there's the op found. There's the shot rung off. Noya does get the shot. They're going to get the spike down, too. Floor tries to stay alive and cannot. This time a 1v3. At Noya's hands and not the same amount of magic.
She's flying. Literally double satchel, spraying through the air to get that last kill as the plant's coming in. Sonder makes the right play, obviously, but that is just disgusting.
Surrounded by minha família. We won't lose.
Well, Shopify have exceeded the average that Bach mentioned earlier on the desk. Up to 7 now. Yeah, there's that last kill that you were just referring to, soaring through the sky, getting the shots.
Glad we got that POV. That is just Valorant. Crazy. And you're right, the money is worse for wear for V1 right now. And this is kind of a must-win round to me. Shopify's already won the half, but they extend this lead even further. It's looking a little tough. See, again, they're just barreling through. Both of the duelists right now completely vulnerable up, and they're not getting anything for it. Panini's just all the way back.
You invested a satchel, you invested the dash too. Out from Floor. And it's Noya who has the rifle. Don't know if the dog spotted one. But either way, Sarah falls, Fluorescent does too. Again, you see the pieces of Version 1 continue to crumble.
One enemy remaining.
A 4v2 very quickly evaporates as Shopify get another.
This is such a masterclass here on this defense right now.
Half.
And Version 1, they feel a little lost. Especially when it comes to barreling through mid right there. Like I said, I think there was definitely a directive in that timeout from Coach Effie's to be a little bit more aggressive, to not be so scared of the comp that Shopify is playing. But when you see the results in the server, maybe that was ill advised. I'm just making assumptions, but you can see now twice they're running through that molly in mid. Twice they're going through that orb. And without a punish, which Floor did get one round way back earlier, before the timeout. And not finding those results is definitely going to hurt. Last round of the half, though.
On Shopify's pick, too. Sonder has the ult once more. Alexis with the counter. And the last one, the Cosmic Divide, on the cards for Shopify.
This is a lot more of an aggressive setup here for Shopify. Sonder playing top ramp. They get it worked off, but both players, they could be easily isolated. They're not checking.
Oh, gosh. Floor gets the high ground. There's the shot. They both fall.
I'll take that if I'm Sonder every time.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Wall down for Noya and their star player from V1 as well. One of the few players really still playing phenomenally for V1.
I've got your trail.
Despite the scoreline.
Seekers used by Alexis. Try to get any info and try to salvage a half, or at least as best as you possibly can. Maybe get to 4. Seekers in the lap, Flowerful having to reposition. She's got nade, she's got a stun, she's got the Seekers, and she still gets a kill on the Mel.
A strange wall here. Actually gives them space to plant.
Yeah, this is a very weird angle.
It gives them a lot of space on the backside of this, though. To scale in the back of sight. You see KP already onto pillar. Clearing that, too.
Oh, they've left Sarah here. Alexis now turning back. They didn't hear her go up top, so her position is still concealed. Finally exposed. The 1v2 turns into 1v1. I thought she was going to hit that last shot, too, man. I would have lost my mind. Can Alexis do it again? No utility to speak of. A tap on the rope. KP gets it to half. Fake for it, and Alexis hits the shot. The Red Bull clutch to get version 1 to 4.
And these two players going head-to-head, the skies for the teams. And Alexis gets revenge in that final 1v1. This beginning of the round, though, I 100% take this among Sander. 2 kills? Absolutely. And those 2 specific players. But I have to question this Astral that Saburi goes out for. I think it's quite nice when you're able to scale behind it, but there's still a gap there that they're trying to peek in front that Sarah easily handles. And Alexis as well, 1v2. So nice from her. The crouch to get away is crazy. And now as we enter the second half, I'm thinking a lot about how this scoreline actually matters in terms of, the sidedness of split. Historically, it's been very defense-sided, but this comp specifically from V1 has been mixed signals the entire season. They're going to go walk down.
With the double duelist comp, they opt to go for aggression on defense in that pistol. Remember, they lost the first, and that started off a brutal snowball for Shopify. The V1 finally found their footing on, but not before it was too late.
They gave up so much space. It is crazy right now that Mel is aware of this possibility with the noise as well.
A lot of pressure. There's the first with the ghost. Tries to land on a second. And cannot. KP going to heal him back up. So off of this, Shopify have mid control. You see it on the minimap. Version 1, they're hovering around it.
Lost a lot of info on A, though. Shopify could use that wall so well to deny exactly what's going on. They could be out on site as well during that rotate. Didn't quite spot every single player. But if you're Mel, you take that as well. That was a chaotic situation that, their pistol round gamble actually led to a weakness here, and still coming out with 1 is definitely laudable.
Flora and Alexis on
30
A.
seconds left.
It seems like that's exactly where Shopify are headed. See one of those flashes used. You imagine off of this, there's going to be a swing. Confirmation of 1. Flora procs the dash. There's a swing out from Alexis backside, dealing a little bit of damage, and there are a lot of targets to deal with, and they almost get them all. But the buoy on the counter punch, a 1v2 now. 10 seconds left. They've got to scoop up the spike. Never mind, not double facing. It works out though. Sarah gets a kill onto Sabui and get version 1 the pistol.
Jeez.
Oh,
that's such good work there from Alexis and Flora inside of that site. Just
and they got what, 3 of 4?
Yeah, 3 of 4 plus the spike, the most important thing.
Yeah.
Knocked down under heaven. Mad props to Mel too, doing a lot of damage to everybody there. Yeah, KP is going to heal the other person up, but their health is down to 70, I believe. And you mentioned the double face. The reason Sarah's there alone is because that spike, there's so little time for her to plant, so if she can just try to disrupt it without giving risk to both players falling, that's definitely the play.
Here.
Toxin screen down.
V1 needed that pistol so badly.
Yeah.
They needed to put themselves in a place where they can control the economy. They haven't been there so far in this game.
Seems to be showing up at just the right time. Shopify with nothing but pistols. Seem intent on exploring mid. Pushing Noi off the angle. The molly, and if anyone dare push it, there's a judge waiting on the other side. Seems like that might be the case. The vulnerable's not going to matter here. Floor finding 1 with the Marshall. There it is, the flash, but she's patient with it. What was that?
That's a one-click classic, Sonder with magic, and now she was masterful with the judge on that first half. V1 cannot lose another eco here.
Spike down B.
but they might just, because there's still that judge in Saunders' hand. She's cut off Floor as well, who only has a Marshall. If Floor hits this is crazy. How do they clear Saunders?
I don't know that you can. That was probably the best chance they had. Flores ahead of it, dashing forward into the smoke. Marshall completely ignoring Saunders. Oh my gosh! What a shot! Looking for the second and can't hit it. Oh my goodness!
Dude, she's just so ridiculous, man.
I feel like I'm at the edge of my seat every time I'm watching her play.
Especially in clutch moments. It feels like she just gets like insanely flashy for no reason whatsoever. But also, like, yeah, it works every time too. Almost too. But they still get eco, Doug. And this is a major problem. We mentioned this thread popping up in the community, especially everybody who's watching V1 really hoping that they can step up their level, not just in game changes, but overall. That's just dealing with two players on complete 90, like behind you and in front of you.
Just filth. Off of that version 1, it seemed like they were starting to build some momentum, but they've gotten back on a back foot once more. Back to pistols. Still down 4 rounds. And feeling a lot of the pressure that Saunders pushing. Clean shot out from Noya, though.
Fucking isolated. Oh!
Right?
A second, too. All of a sudden, V1 might get the eco. She's got a Vandal.
Got a Vandal. She had a shot at a 3rd kill. 2 back sight flashed up. Everything crumbling around her. Noya having to do it all on her own. KP lands the shots, cleans that up, leaving Mel in a 1v3.
A moment there where it feels like V1 could have slowed things down. Like Noya gets the gun, Floor is still with the knives, she can get healed up. Instead, she dies to a turret. Noya jumps out by herself. Go for the gun top. No, there's not actually a gun. There's Noya drop down too, yeah. There's no real options there for Mel, I think. Just because of her entire team. That's one of those moments where, you know, you hear Mel talk a lot about how when she's IGLing this team, it's not the same as prior iterations for her. This is seriously like leashing 4 rabid dogs. And that's one of those moments where you've got to calm it down. You absolutely have to. When Noya gets 2 kills like that, you guys are fully in advantage. Floor still has her knives. Everything is going well. But instead, that happens, and Shopify look poised to take this map right now.
Which, again, to harken back to what the Deaths was talking about at the beginning of the show, version 1 have not dropped a map in Game Changers this year.
Undefeated.
Not one map. I mean, it's impressive when teams run a whole year without dropping a series, but version 1 flirting with something that has not happened to them all year. Shopify looking to potentially make history. And hitting version 1 in a way that no one else has been able to. Still 3 rounds to get to that point, though. Version 1 with guns, op in the hands of Floor. An aggressive space taken by Mel. The Flower was there and waiting. Oh, just narrowly missing the timing.
This is such an advanced angle from Floor.
Look at how bold this is.
She's on the stairs, too. The dash is not going to be, like...
Nope.
The smoke is set. That might end up making her go for more. No, she's going to fall all the way back into sight. She knows the pressure's on. Oh! Dude, no! There's no way! There's no way!
Teed off!
Come on! There's absolutely no way!
30 seconds left.
What are you... All right, version 1 pushing the 6th round, and that might have been the spark that they needed.
Nah, dude, who's the investigation really on? Because, I mean, what in the world?
Here.
What in the world? That's something I haven't seen from Aspas, bro. That is not something that I've seen from many of these top jet players that you put in the highest of echelon. What in the world is that?
Insane.
That's an over 90-degree flick with a scoped op. Bro, that is not normal.
No, that's a floor round. Is what that is. That was wild. And all of that magic brings V1 back within 4. A flawless round. The op's still in her hands. Really, for Shopify, there's nothing else you can do but just kind of move on. It's exactly what they seem to try to do here. Stinger in the hands of Subui, but rifles the rest of the way. Sonder with the ult.
Poison's off.
V1 doing a good job keeping information over towards the other sides of the map, but they've given up mid, and Noya has to fall all the way. Look at Sonder just satcheling once onto it. This double starts coming in as well. Trailblazer up. Sonder has the showstopper, but
No
Sarah just
way.
shuts it down completely.
Just the smallest moment of hesitation for Saunders. She looked at that angle, turned off for just a second, and that was the punish.
And the crazy part, too, is now Shopify has to deal with the fact that, yeah, they didn't manage to get to this B site. And if you want to pivot, they know they're going to have to go in the floor. With 40 seconds, and that girl can move.
Hunkering down, digging their heels in. You see the flash from Alexis up towards B heaven.
Mel's position is really good, too.
30
Take down
seconds
Flower
left.
for a good off angle.
Alone though. Now the rotation started to come back over. It seemed like Version1 wanted to creep off. Okay, they're awake. They're back. Sarah with 4, V1 with 7.
Oh my goodness. This is the type of stuff that you hope when you tune into a V1 game. I think people might have been looking at this and being like,
Bro.
let me take this easy. People starting to fall asleep. Nah, you've woken up. You've woken up. And so have V1.
Massive round out from Sarah. Yeah, 3 rounds, the only thing separating these two teams. Op still in the hands of Flora. Money is flowing for the defensive side. And it's pistols for Shopify once more.
It's double satchel again for Sonder with the Bucky as well. Not quite finding Noya. She keeps escaping, but just barely.
That's actually, I mean, that's so good too. When you've got on attack side, a single duelist, the only one who can really create space like that. If you're able to negate the 2 satchels, that's the go button.
Oh,
so
and
you have
remember,
them invest that for nothing.
Remember what V1 was trying to do, right? They would never actually even take ropes on their mid control, even though they were investing a boombot, sometimes flashes. And it's easy here for Sonder to just push him back.
Yeah.
The amount of ability you have to work the map after pushing everybody off of ropes, off of mail, is so huge. People underestimate that. And this is a nice fake. It's pulling Noya over, actually. But still, Sarah and Mel holding firm. It's kind of shallow.
There's the molly. Sarah finding position around it.
30 seconds left.
Still plenty of utility. First one passing through, the other one's walking to her crosshair. Sarah's not quite done with the previous round she had. 3 more.
Down, B.
That's now 7 kills in the last 2 rounds. Make that 8. Sarah with another 4K as V1 get to 8.
Yeah, absolutely. Dominant there. That nade a little shallow. If that goes slightly deeper, Sarah has a little bit more problems too. And unfortunately, like you said, the only duelist for the Shopify side only has a Bucky, right? So scaling to the back of sight, quite the idea. Instead, Sonder goes over to Hell right here, just to cut off the rotates of people jumping out of heaven. V1 have clawed this back to 2. And right now in control. Like I said earlier, they need to control the economy, and they are doing that, but it's still not quite exactly flowing. Shopify could put a stop to this very easily. Big clean round.
See Noya jump spotting across mid. Shopify really haven't been able to gain any traction there. Although Panini has crept forward just a bit.
Yeah. Being all the way towards their ramp and not being dead right now is a big sign for Shopify because they haven't spotted the op yet. Oh, that's perfect.
Oh,
I mean, a lot of self-damage there on Tamel, but and the 4-person clear, the Seekers right now are going to kind of illuminate that, but it is floored. For the Seeker, not quite.
Taking a little bit of damage, 70 HP, the op's still in her hand. There's a push forward out. Saunders able to get 2. Floor still with the op's powerful clotheslines her. A second kill. Mel in a 1v4.
This is the round I was talking about. Making it clean like this. I mean, this is exactly the type of damage you want to get done when you're trying to close out a game against V1 here. Reminder, V1 undefeated. Completely flawless map score in GC.
All year. Not just this tournament. All year.
It's ridiculous.
We'll see what they do from here. V1 still with plenty of money. They're able to go ahead and get another op in the hands of Floor. Still buy full rifles, full armor. While it's not overflowing in abundance, there is enough to get the op, keep things stabilized. What do they do from here? It seems like they're going to want to put Floor in more of an aggressive position across mid.
Yes.
Scout destroyed.
They swapped her off the A side, and that's what Shopify abused, because it's a lot harder to be fluid like you saw in that one round where Floor had her pop off. It's a lot harder to do that on this B side. They're much, much more restricted, and there's not many places you can fall off of compared to the A side.
Remember, that's the only go button they have. Saunders slowed down for just a moment, continues to press forward, continues to push members of Version 1 off the site. They've created some space, invested the pit do. What do Version 1 have for counter? They don't have garage control. They can't easily flank because of the alarm bot that's there. And the pit is heavily pushing them back in their own spawn. Saunders has to be careful here. Yep. Just a little aggressive, Mel finding the right timing.
This lockdown is perfect, though. Wait, it got broken by the nade.
Way.
And also got a kill. Double satchel coming out. The Cosmic Divide as well. Are you kidding me?
What?
The movement's perfect.
They fully lost contain. They fully lost control.
Jeez, mate.
I was already ready to write that round off for V1 because I saw that lockdown. I thought it was unbreakable, but that nade is just coming in from heaven, I guess, from Sarah. I thought the timing was perfect. I thought the timing was so much that I was even, if I'm Mel, I'm thinking, considering trying to back off and just look for exits instead play for OT. But they pull that out? Flawless? 5v5 retake flawless?
That nade not only got a kill, but also got the alarm, the ult, excuse me. Dude, Sarah has woken up in these in the last couple of rounds of the second half. She had a slow start to the game, but all of a sudden she's matched with Floor for top frag. Floor with the op, another head found.
Shopify, I mean, that's another mistake there. There was one a couple of rounds ago where that didn't get punished, where they peeked ahead of the Seekers. Floor could have gotten a shot off. This time they peek in front of the orb. And Floor finds her shot.
Little mistakes proving to be the difference. At least in these last couple of moments. Floor still with the op.
Oh, she wants to.
I thought. Yep.
As that dash fades, though. Doesn't have the escape tool. Somebody could peek on her. Reloading. Second cycle of the wall indicates that somebody either crept into that angle or crept out of the angle. Potentially even crept past the wall. Seekers popped. And that's to actually confirm and maybe punish the player up towards close ropes.
Oh, they gotta be careful here. Noy's surrounded. Noy is in trouble. Is Noy the one in trouble, though? With the pit, with the judge, yes. Ultimately falls. And Mel's just waiting around the corner.
30 seconds.
Can she find any value? Because they're all going to challenge her at the same time. Nothing found. Sarah tries to do a bit of the same, and yes, takes one with her. 2v2 now. The op shot narrowly going left. See if Alexis can find the timing. Spike landed now. 2v2. Op still in the hands of Floor. Flowerful looking to see if anyone dare over-aggress.
Floor swapped off the op. No dash. Remember, she used it earlier.
Patience now as they're quiet with it. That flash not going to confirm anything. Do you realize? Yes, they do. Floor with one. KP on the counter. Once again, KP and Alexis, a 1v1. KP weak, and KP does not care. Shopify, map point.
The third 1v1 between the veterans on these two teams. Alexis and KP, the two Skies, too. I thought V1 did a pretty good job coming out through heaven there. With the Sky Flashes actually popping in heaven and not finding information that clears heaven from Floor so she can go for peeking down on top of this. But KP is too quick with the punish. And that's off of a first kill from Floor again. She's not been finding too many of those early duels as they're trying to rotate the op to find those, but Shopify are just doing the perfect thing to avoid it every time. So here they're flashing close heaven, waiting for the orb to fall. Flash clears so they can walk through. Speaking of walking through, though, look at that. With the angle that Floor's watching, she's crept up really close.
Real cheeky. A recalled star, but again, version 1 ahead of it. So any attempt at misdirection It's nullified.
I like this a lot. Sonder and Panini, they're both crept up into that A main angle. One holding elbow, one holding close for a peek. If anybody goes for a jump spot, there's at least a little pressure. And they're making it safe for each other to stay in those positions. I just keep kind of looking over towards the spike right now. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff happening over towards A main and ramp. And the spike does end up walking its way away. And there was no information gathered by Mel there. She didn't hear them running away. Otherwise, she'd be chasing behind.
No ults to speak of for version 1, just one for Sonder.
And this is a big one. Sonder's been great with her showstoppers the entire game so far.
Oh no. Right past her. Sonder going forward, ult in hand, looking to find a target. Nothing found. Alexis and Sarah able to drop 2. Numbers in favor of version 1, but the problem is 2 of them are still far away. Sarah might be able to do it on her own though. The nade to push Sonder away. Reposition now, 10 seconds left. The spike not in hand. Version 1 not done yet.
And that's broken money there from Shopify. They're reset. Since they won the prior round. Looks like V1 are making a big fight here on this little comeback. And disgusting shot from Fluorescent, but I think huge credit to Alexis and Sarah there. Both working in tandem together. Thought for a second Sarah might get a little too far ahead, but also have to credit whoever walked past that boombot in ropes, dodging what Sonder could have easily punished. She goes for the showstopper, not finding anything because of the smokes from Mel. Every time Fluorescent's finding an early peak here, there's just nobody. There's been multiple times. The one time was a ramp. And Shopify has been obviously cleaning up that walk-up.
Alexis just dogged into A main, and I believe
definitely
the dog saw Panini. Yeah. Oh, straight saw the foot, right? Dash, proc, position lost.
With no kill there, too.
Coming back.
I'm hoping for Floor to be able to get a pick there. This comeback to be true. Shopify right now, they are on match point. They are on the verge of knocking a map off of V1, which hasn't happened in 21 series and game changers. It's just ridiculous. To do it on an eco here would be crazy. Doesn't look like it's going to happen, though, as Sonder gets picked out. No more space closing. And that was the difference maker in the earlier eco.
And we have to start looking forward a little bit here as Sarah just got her ult online. If they can get through this round cleanly without having to invest it, that's a massive tool at their disposal.
30 seconds left.
Potentially force overtime. Noya flash on the turn, gets 3. It's not the shorty that gets it, it's Sarah, but it's a flawless round for version 1 as they continue to hang around.
It's that anti-eco. It should easily, cleanly make it through, but it hasn't quite been perfect in rounds like these in the past. When push comes to shove, this might be one of the first maps really that they're getting super tested. Obviously, it's gone to distance in some instances, but only the first time out here from Shopify. The final hour. That means that if this does go to OT, they have a little extra to work with. V1 also saving one, though. They've got to try to close it out here because V1 definitely heating up, man. Sarah, Fluorescent, they've been absolutely insane. To speak more on Sarah, too, she was 0-7, I believe, to start the game. Really struggling on that attack side. Stepped up a little bit towards the end, but this defense half, this fourth quarter for Sarah has been ridiculous. Every round finding impact where others cannot.
Didn't lose any of the confidence. And, you know, as we think about the first half and the fact that she was running Raze in a double duelist comp, and your job is to go forward, right? And she just wasn't able to find a ton of traction, but you can tell it hasn't really affected her very much. A slow start is a long, distant memory.
You mentioned ults for V1 coming into this final round. This actually, Shopify have 2 big ones too, the Seekers and that Cosmic Divide. Can help for executes. Floor will peak mid twice in a row. Not here this time. And that's where all the pressure is, but look at the amount of stars in mid from Sabui. With that flash, it should start to recall a few of them. Put some smokes up as well. As there's nobody super challenging. That's to punish Floor if she did go for a walkabout push. Floor's on that A side. That's definitely where she's had the most success when they hit that site. It's been a lot harder for her to go for retakes. And I think Shopify knows that.
Love the timing of that there from Shopify. As soon as the orb goes down from Noya, the smoke is used from Sabui to conceal Mail, potentially threaten.
I've got your trail.
Version1 having lost ropes control. Seekers invested from KP.
And that did get the nade out from Sarah, which is huge for if this does end up a B main push or a B split. You've got to rely on that Gravo, the Molly as well from Noya. She has none. They've done such a good job breaking this util down. Yeah. Sarah's still with the ult, though. Coming through Mail is a dangerous task. They have to neuter that immediately.
There's nothing to get contact here. It's just
30
Sarah.
seconds left.
With a little sidestep, a little shoulder thrown.
You want to
Get
fight
confirmation. And there it is. That's going to be the cue. Ult used, but Sandra going forward, leaving a teammate behind. Shorty out Mel. Looking for an angle. Oh, and she finds nothing. 5v4. Noya being patient with it. Finally striking. Maybe not a moment too soon. Floor's going to have to get a 1v2 to force overtime, and she cannot. Finally, Version1 drop a map at the hands of Shopify. 13-11 on split.
Of course, it's Shopify to do it.
Yeah.
Of course, it's Shopify to break the streak from V1. 21 series and game changers. And we just saw it finally come to an end. Legendary stuff from the pretty new team here in 2023, but absolutely stellar performance from Shopify the entire time. I think especially on that first half, that defensive side was so well read from KP so often. And yeah, V1 started off slow, but you have to give so much credit to Shopify in that one, that they're able to keep that lead the entire time. Well done.
I mean, in the face of 2 back-to-back 4Ks from Sarah, Floor teeing off and just being Floor, yeah, Shopify were able to stabilize. That last time out from Rob in the 11th hour, as you said, proved to be the difference maker. 13-11 in favor of Shopify. Map 2 on the other side of this break. We'll be right back.
Have you ever asked yourself after a bad game, what am I missing? Or sought help from impatient friends? Or browsed desperately for answers that only bring up more questions? Your self-doubting days are over with Discovery, the first game-focused AI. Discovery is trained on the world's leading esports athletes to be your everyday personal coach. That's right, Discovery can help you improve your gameplay by giving you tips and strategies to take your game to the next level. Get started at aimlabs.com/discovery.
Red Bull gives you wings.